Welcome to the deep dive.
Great to be here.
So today we're jumping into something really intriguing. Intuitive healing. What is it? Where does it come from?
And this came up because you, our listener, were curious. So we're looking at it through a specific source.
Right, a YouTube chat from Speaking Tree, and it features BJ Anon. You might remember him, former Bollywood actor. Now he's a Kundalini yoga teacher.
Yeah, quite the shift. So for you, the learner out there, our mission is to kind of unpack this idea of intuitive healing. We'll touch on karma, belief, all based on what BJ Anon shared.
We've pulled out some, well, surprising bits, hopefully some memorable examples too. No complex jargon, just exploring the core ideas.
Exactly. So intuitive healing itself, what's the deal there?
Well, BJ Anon tells these stories, personal ones that really make you think. There's one from when he was just 14.
Oh yeah? What happened?
He was in a car heading to a New Year's party, I think, and suddenly this young girl in the car just starts completely freaking out, screaming, crying, no obvious reason.
Okay, intense. So what did he do?
That's the thing. He says he just sort of automatically took her hand, put his other hand on her back, and just told her really calmly, be quiet, take 3 deep breaths. And apparently she just stopped. Instantly calm. He's very clear that we had 0 training, no idea why he did it or how it worked.
Wow, so like pure instinct. That definitely points to, well, maybe some kind of innate ability we don't always tap into, you know?
Totally. And he says it wasn't a one-off. This kind of thing happened repeatedly.
Like the story with his daughter.
Exactly. He mentioned his daughter until she was maybe 11, genuinely believed he was a doctor.
Because he could just fix things.
Pretty much. He'd get hurt, have a pain, he'd put his hand on it, say it'll be fine in 10 minutes, and well, often it was. Again, no method, no conscious understanding.
So the big question hangs there, doesn't it? Where does that ability come from?
What does he think?
He leans towards the idea of knowledge, maybe abilities, carried over from past lives, like an intuition, a power that's just there, available to him.
Past lives. Okay.
He also mentioned something called Vak Siddhi. It's a yogic idea.
Vak Siddhi?
Yeah, it means like the power of speech. The idea that your words can actually manifest reality. So maybe his verbal reassurance, it'll be fine, played a part too.
Interesting. Speech having power. That feels connected to the whole idea of intention, maybe.
Definitely. And it leads naturally into thinking about karma, doesn't it? If these kinds of abilities exist, what about the impact of our actions, karmically speaking?
Right. Does he talk about karma and maybe changing it?
He does. His view is that if you've done something negative, you can lessen the karmic blowback, but only through genuine remorse, like really feeling sorry and understanding the harm caused.
So just saying sorry or doing a token gesture isn't enough?
Nope, he stresses that. Superficial actions without that deep inner shift, they don't really cut it, karmically speaking. It has to be authentic change inside.
That makes sense. Inner transformation over outward show. But okay, can this intuitive healing thing, can it actually change someone's karma or even affect them on a soul level?
That's a clear no from him.
Really?
Yeah. He believes intuitive healing might help physically, maybe emotionally, sure, but your karma, that's your journey. He says you can't step in and change someone else's bad karma for them.
Not even if you have good intentions.
Seems not. He even suggests divine help won't negate someone else's negative actions if they haven't genuinely repented. It really puts the responsibility squarely on the individual.
Individual accountability. Got it. Okay, let's shift a bit. He talks about the hands, right? Having power.
He does. He mentions energy being concentrated in the hands, especially the fingertips, and also the part you use for namaste.
The palms together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What he calls the Hakini Mudra. And he has an interesting take on why we do namaste.
Oh, more than just a greeting.
He suggests it's partly to avoid negative energy transfer you might get from shaking hands.
Seriously, shaking hands transfers negative energy.
Well, that's his perspective. That in namaste, the energy stays more contained, more positive. But shaking hands, it could be an exchange. He even links it to feeling drained after big social events, you know. All those handshakes might be subtly tiring you out by absorbing negativity.
Huh. I mean, I've definitely felt drained after parties, but I never thought, wow, okay.
And connecting back to the healing, he reiterates, it's not about a learned technique, it's more about this inherent power or understanding.
Not a step-by-step guide, more like tapping into something already there.
Which brings us to belief, doesn't it? Faith.
Crucial element, according to him. He strongly feels the healer isn't really doing the healing.
Wait, the healer doesn't heal? Then who does?
It's the recipient's faith. Their belief in the healer's ability, that's what actually makes the healing happen.
So my belief makes me better.
That's the idea. He talks about his healing sessions in Prague having really high success rates. And he puts it down to the attendees having strong faith, being really open to it.
So if I go in skeptical, it might not work as well, based on his view. It's like the soul, maybe, recognizes the pure intention, and belief unlocks your own healing capacity.
But what about, I think he told a story about someone who was skeptical. Someone with an aching hand.
Ah, yes. Good point. He did mention someone whose hand pain just vanished after his intervention, even though they weren't consciously a believer.
So how does that fit?
Well, maybe it suggests that even without conscious faith, there could be some other level of receptivity. Or maybe the intention itself has some effect regardless.
It's complex.
It is. Lots of layers here. He also mentioned dreams, didn't he? Briefly.
Yeah, just touched on it. Said he has vivid dreams and felt they might connect to past life wisdom or understanding. Another potential source of intuition, perhaps?
Okay. Now, this next idea is really powerful. Faith in your own goodness as a shield.
Yes. This is a big point. It's not about religious faith in the usual sense.
So,
He means having this deep, unshakable belief that you yourself are inherently good, that you've never intentionally harmed anyone or wished them ill, and that protects you.
he thinks so. That conviction creates a kind of energetic protection.
Yeah.
It can even influence your dreams, make you less susceptible to fear or negativity.
So if something bad does happen,
Then you reframe it. It's not a punishment, it's a lesson, an opportunity to gain wisdom. It's quite an empowering perspective, isn't it? Believing your core goodness is a defense.
it really is, puts the power back in your hands in a way. Now, intuition versus astrology, what was his take?
He kind of sees astrology as potentially becoming a crutch, something you might rely on instead of trusting your own direct intuition.
So he's against astrology.
Not entirely. It's nuanced, because he then shares 2 times when astrological advice actually seemed to resonate with his gut feeling and led him down completely new, successful paths.
Like what?
First into art dealing, which apparently went really well, and later becoming a yoga teacher. Both seemed like leaps, but the guidance combined with his intuition worked out.
So sometimes external systems can maybe confirm or nudge the intuition.
Seems like that's how it played out for him in those cases. They weren't necessarily in conflict, more like complementary, maybe?
Interesting balance. And this all ties into his sense of purpose, right? Something about the heart.
Yes, the Anahata chakra,
Yeah.
the heart chakra. He feels his sole purpose is basically to teach people about love, real love.
Which is why he named his yoga company Anahata.
Exactly. He draws a contrast between like transactional relationships, I do this for you, you do that for me, and the kind of selfless love that comes from an open heart chakra.
What's an example of that selfless love?
He gives a simple one. Not being annoyed when a loved one snores, accepting them completely, flaws and all. It's about recognizing that inherent divinity, that capacity for selfless love within ourselves and others.
Awakening that capacity.
That's the goal, as he sees it. That's real fulfillment. And connecting to this, he shares some pretty unusual experiences from his own life, things that suggest past life stuff influencing this life.
Like, what kind of things?
Well, he mentions how, even as an 8-year-old boy, Watchmen would just salute him consistently.
Salute an 8-year-old, why?
He doesn't know why, but he interprets it now as a possible echo of status or respect earned in a past life, manifesting in this odd way.
Okay.
And special treatment at the bank, again from a young age. Or feeling unusually welcomed or fast-tracked through immigration sometimes.
So these aren't memories of past lives, but strange occurrences now that he thinks are karmic ripples.
Exactly. That's how he presents it. Experiences in this life resulting from past life actions or karma.
And does he talk about relationships carrying over?
He does. He feels a very strong past life connection with his wife and daughter. He even talks about a soul promise for future lives together.
A soul promise, wow.
Yeah. And the broader idea that people from past lives can show up again. Sometimes to help you, sometimes to teach you something, maybe even for, well, retribution or balancing things out.
So our connections can span lifetimes, in his view.
Seems so. Which leads to this idea of spiritual power. He's careful about this one.
How so? Not like magic tricks.
Definitely not magic tricks. For him, spiritual power is about deep intuition. It's about really understanding people on a soul level, seeing their past, present, future. not just the surface.
But couldn't that just be your mood? Like if you're feeling generous, you see someone nicely?
He acknowledges mood plays a part in perception, sure. But he's talking about something deeper, a fundamental grasp of someone's essence.
Like judging a book by its cover versus actually reading it.
That's a good analogy, yeah. Knowing the core, not just the appearance. And he gives examples of this power in action.
Oh, yeah.
Like comforting women who were distraught, and he just knew instantly that they needed to forgive certain family members, like their fathers. It wasn't logical deduction, it was a spontaneous insight. This was exactly what they needed to hear.
That intuitive knowing hitting the mark precisely.
Right, that's the kind of power he means. And finally, this all circles back to detachment.
Detachment from what?
From outcomes, from gains and losses. He sees it as essential for real spiritual growth and, ultimately, for lasting happiness.
Easier said than done, probably.
Oh, for sure. But he shares a story about making a huge amount of money unexpectedly in Thailand. His family was ecstatic, but he felt pretty neutral. No extreme high.
Just, okay, that happened.
Exactly. He makes the distinction between that fleeting happiness you get from good news or external events and the kind of constant inner contentment or bliss that comes from spiritual awareness.
So the goal isn't the highs and lows of emotion.
No, the goal is that steady inner state of peace and awareness, regardless of what's happening outside. That, he says, is the ultimate happiness, and that's what he hopes to help others find.
Wow. Okay. So wrapping this up, we've journeyed through BJ Anon's take on intuitive healing, this mysterious innate ability. We've looked at karma, how powerful belief seems to be.
Yeah, and this idea of power residing within us, accessible through intuition, through connecting with that inherent goodness, and the ultimate aim being this state of awareness of selfless love.
It really makes you pause and think, doesn't it? About your own intuition, those gut feelings, those little knowings you can't explain. Do you listen to them?
And how much does what you believe actually shape your reality? It's a big question.
Definitely. So maybe a final thought for you listening. What about your own inner healer? What potential lies dormant there?
Right. What could happen if you leaned into trusting your own goodness more? Trusting that interconnectedness. Perhaps this dive sparks some more exploration for you into karma, intuition, maybe even mindfulness practices.
Food for thought. Thanks for exploring it with us.
Always interesting.